As it happens, tonight falls our first discussion on a Thursday night. And on a Thursday night, one of the best things that we can do is remember our marhumeen, our family members, those of our friends and relatives who have left us, those of the mu'mineen who have no one to recite Fatiha for them. So before we begin our program, let's take a moment and recite the Fatiha and 3 times Surah Ikhlas for all of the mu'mineen and mu'minat. Bismillah ar-Rahman. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات على محمد. Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. And your loudest as condolences to the master of our time, Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا أهل البيت عليهم السلام. Tonight, we're beginning Ayam al-Aza, our days of mourning. And while these days are also associated with the tradition of these majalis, this is also our school, our university, our continuing education in the pathway of this azah, in the pathway of this faith, in the pathway of this love of Ali Muhammad. There's a proverb that comes that says, we judge ourselves by our intentions and we judge others by their actions. My point in sharing this with you is that many times what happens, there's this disconnect between action and intention, between faith and application. It happens sometimes that, for example, my intentions are great. I know what I want. I know what I want to be and who I want to be and what I want to reflect in my character, but I don't know how to manifest it. That translation is very difficult to do from what I feel and what I think and what I show. Especially in contemporary society where we live in countries that don't reflect our faith. We learn to be very cynical of various aspects. We learn to recognize what my intention was, my desire was, what I hope to achieve, and I judge myself based on that. But when I look at another person, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. As a matter of fact, for them, I'm very critical. I don't want to give anyone, especially within our own communities, because we see each other so much, we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. We look at one another and we're hypercritical of their actions, of their behaviors, of their mannerisms, and we think the worst of everything that comes about. And people think the same way about us. The conversation over the next series of nights is that, okay, fine, I have within me an intention. I have within me a criteria. I have within me a desire. How do I manifest that into physical action? Whenever I want to give a lecture, I always want to give something that's a practical application of how to apply something. So when you come, you take something with you. The goal of these 10 nights is to, again, focus on this idea that we came. We came for Azaa of Aba Abdullah. We came to Majlis Husseini. We came to this event. We focused on this event. And when we come here, we're going to try and activate ourselves. We're going to try and take something with us. We're going to try and become something with us. The goal is, how do we focus that intention, that desire, that fire, and point it to something physical that brings about a change in our environment. We talk about this in the month of Ramadan as well too, that in Ramadan, mashallah, your Ramadan should be something different than the rest of the year, and when you leave Ramadan, it should continue. And it's true that heightened spirituality of Ramadan should bring about change in our character and behavior. There's no doubt. But if Ramadan is the heightening of spirituality, Muharram is the revolution of the heart. Muharram is the time when my heart is alight with this desire. And it's the saying of Ahlul Bayt where they say, certainly in the hearts of the mu'mineen for our Hussein, there is a fire that never is cooled. How do I reflect externally the actions of that fire in my heart? How do I manifest this love and desire of Ahlul Bayt in my actions? You see, there's something, and before we get to our topic, I'm doing this introduction with you. There's something I learned, and I learned it very late in life, and I wish someone would have talked to me about it sooner, was the etiquette of taking an exam. You see, typically when we go for an exam, we just have the intention, I'm going to do well on my exam. I'm going to succeed in my exam. I'm going to get the result I want. I'm going to get a good result. Is it an A? Is it a B? Baba, as long as I pass, let's start there and then we'll move on. But while I was studying in the Hawza, I had a teacher who was very particular and he was very dear to me, and he gave me time and he taught me. And as he taught me, one day he says to me, next week I'm going to give you an exam. And he says, but this exam is conditional. You either get 100 or we finish this class. Because he was taking, it's difficult to take time from yourself and your studies and your research and to work with someone and give them your time and your attention. He said, you either get 100 or we finish this class. So sure enough, it made me focus and it changed my intention for that exam, and I realized that there was something I was doing differently now. Normally when I took an exam, the intention was get a good grade, do well. Try to answer as many as you can correctly. This time when I had to take that exam, my intention was I can't get a single one wrong. I can't make a single mistake because the consequences of that mistake are too high for me to take. And when I changed my focus and I changed my approach, I came out with a different conclusion. When I changed my approach, I did get that 100, surprisingly. And the difference was that I looked at each question, and I looked at each scenario, and I looked at each point in that test with the intention that there can't be a mistake. And while that's great for a test, that you introduce the test to yourself, that yes, I'm not going to make a mistake in this test, the point is, look at the broader application. The broader application that I want to bring you to is that when you come to a place like this majlis, or you come to any event that's taking your time, come with the intention that I'm going to take something from here. My time is not something that's just free to give, that I'm going to give it away. No, if I came with my time, I will not get up from this location. I will not leave this task until I have taken something from it. Whether the majlis is here, whether the majlis is somewhere else, whether it's a different event, as soon as you've made a decision to commit your time to that event, and you've made a decision that this is where I need to be, make that intention in the same process. That the ideal goal is I'm going to take something away. But don't let it be a passive decision within yourself. Make it an active decision. The same way, the shift in my goal initially was from getting a good result in my examination was to making sure that it's a perfect exam. Same way, passively within our hearts, we all have the desire that we came to the Majlis-e-Husseini, we came to this place, something will benefit us. Switch that perspective that I will not leave until I take something with me. Let that be your change in focus, that as you sit and you attend this majlis, any gathering, that until there is something beneficial in it for me, I need to keep pressing forward. I need to keep focused until I can understand and take something away from it. That shift in focus, that shift in direction is our goal, because our eventual result that we want is that we started with nothing. We have to leave this earth with something. We have to accomplish something with this time. So ensure that all of your time is well spent and focused. And that's our goal, is how do we focus this life? How do we make changes within this life to bring about the desired result? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa The discussion for tonight, being that it is Thursday night, and we'll wrap into why this discussion is useful for Thursday night, is the idea that initially of talking about one of the diseases of the soul. Jafaf al-qalb, or qaswat al-qalb, the hardening of the heart. Of how it is that suddenly we become desensitized to our faith. How it is that our heart is no longer in our actions, and our faith becomes an aspect of routine. What is it within this problem that we have within ourselves? Or how do we first, one, diagnose and recognize the symptoms of this sickness? Two, what are the causes of this sickness? And three, how do we cure this sickness within us? To understand that if I want to move forward, if I want to take benefit from my time and I want to utilize this time correctly, is there a barrier that is preventing me from doing that? And that barrier typically is the hardening of the heart. What are the symptoms of this sickness? One, and one of the key important ones that we recognize, and how you can recognize within yourself if I have this problem is I have a lack of desire and interest in spiritual environments and activity. That I don't have a desire. My heart is not in my prayer, or my heart is not in my recitation of Quran or dua. If I do it as a rasm, I do it as a tradition, or I do it as something that's routine for me. It's part of my routine. I have to accomplish this goal, and therefore I do it. My desire, my heart is not in the idea that I want to sit and spend time and focus and get focused and attentive upon the details and the finer points of these actions that I want to complete and commit myself to. That when we find ourselves in this condition, when we recognize that this is happening to us, that my prayer is now just a formality, that I'm completing the task because I have to, we find out something's wrong inside. My heart is not focused on my goal. I'm not performing these actions with the desire that I need to. The other aspect that we take a look and we see that's a symptom of this problem of having a hard heart is indifference to sinning. Sinning in sequential process, constantly without thought to it that we sin. A sin is no little matter. A sin is actually a very big deal, and we've become very indifferent to it as a society. Not as individuals. Unfortunately, I don't know each of you on a personal level yet. But the idea is as a community, as a society, we've become indifferent to it because the sin is relevant to me, not to society. Many times what we view as a sin, society views as a character benefit, as a good quality within you. Oh, he can sell anything to anyone. Anything that he says sounds like the truth. Whether it is or isn't is beside the point. Society is pleased with this characteristic, but Islam is not. And we develop this process within ourselves where we become indifferent to this aspect of sinning. We sin. And then without thinking about it, we sin again. And again. And sometimes we think about it and we sin and we say, oh well, everybody sins. It's not like it's only me who's making this mistake. Everybody does it. And we then utilize the masses to go and justify our actions and look past our flaws and say, oh, it's not a big deal. Everybody does it. But take a look and see what Islam has to say about this. Our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Man sarratahu hasanatahu wa sa'athu sayyi'atahu fahuwa mu'min. That you want to be a mu'min is someone who is pleased by his good deeds and someone who is disturbed and upset by his misdeeds. That to a mu'min, a sin is something very significant. It's not something light that it happened and it happened, okay. No, it impacts his personality. Our Prophet explained, he said, a sin for a disbeliever, for one who has no faith, is as if it is a fly that passes before his nose that he has to wave away. And that same sin for a mu'min is as if you took the mountain of Abu Qubais and put it on his chest. How do we react to sinning? This mountain of Abu Qubais is not a little thing. It's a proper mountain. We know this because this is the same mountain upon which our Holy Prophet, he announced the faith of Islam to all of the people of Mecca. Where we know when we read history, it says that our Prophet stood on this mountain and called, "Oh people, if I was to tell you an army is behind this mountain, would you believe me?" And they said, "Yes, because you are Sadiq, you are Amin, you are the truthful one." So he says, then I am the one who is telling you that Allah has sent me with a message to you. That mountain. Our Prophet says that for a mu'min, that sin is like putting a weight on his chest, that until he removes that weight, he can't breathe. He can't focus. He can't process anything because of how harsh that weight is on him. What do we think about when we sin? How do we deal with it in society? Most of the time we sin, I say, okay, maybe I'll do istighfar tomorrow, or I'll do istighfar later, or I'll take another time and I'll make it, okay, I'll get to it. If we remember. Many times we don't even remember. We make the sin, we make the action, we make the deed, and ya Allah, keep moving. Allah knows, I know, Yawm al-Qiyamah, everybody will know, inshallah. We take this casual personality and process towards it, and that's because our hearts have been hardened. Their lack of sensitivity to the awareness of what Allah desires from us. We've given up this thought process that we are attached to Allah and He is watching us. Think of it this way, if we were to acknowledge the idea that Allah is aware of every second, every moment, every action of mine. If we were to imagine that my Prophet is watching my actions and my behaviors, we would behave differently. We would enact differently, but we've forgotten this. Yet we know that this is true. As we have the narration from our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says to his companions, why do you insist on making your Prophet sad? He said, Yabna Rasulullah, we live in your time. We never met Rasulullah. How is it that we're making him sad? And Imam Sadiq explains that Rasulullah receives a missive of your deeds and he is aware of all of your actions from the first to the last. And yet still you are insistent on doing these sins and committing these evil deeds that make him sorrowful, that hurt him. We lose this prospect, we lose this aspect of ourselves of recognizing what it is that is our obligation because our hearts have hardened. So in the symptoms we see of this disease, we see one, the lack of interest in spirituality. It's difficult, it's annoying. We don't want to do it. We do it as a ritual, we do it as a tradition, as a formality. Or two, we become inconsiderate of our sins, indifferent to them. We sin upon sin upon sin. So what are the causes that bring us to this condition that we come into this state? One is that process of keeping away from spiritual environments. In 24 hours of the day, we're busy or sleeping. If it comes time for prayer, we give ourselves a 30-minute window between all of our activities. If you were to collect it for prayer, Ya Allah, let me pray and get back to work. Let me pray and get back to class. Let me pray and get back to the tasks that I need to accomplish. I have other things I need to do. That zone of spirituality that we allocate within our lives has decreased consistently. We've continued the process of separating ourselves from this aspect of spirituality. Why? Because life is busy. We're busy in trying to understand how do we make sure that we fulfill all of our obligations and make sure all of our tasks are filled. Yet take a look and see when Imam Ali approached the market of Kufa. What he says to the people, he stands there and he says, you people are busy buying and selling during the day and sleeping at night. When are you making time to prepare for the next life? When are you making time to prepare for the hereafter? When are you preparing your luggage to go with you when you leave this earth? We get caught up. We're busy in life. We don't take the time to improve that spirituality because why? We don't see the direct impact of it. We see the impact of if I don't go into work, I know what I'm going to lose. If I don't go and open the shop, I know what's going to happen. We recognize the consequences of these actions, but we don't recognize the consequences of the actions of not taking care of and paying attention to our spirituality. We do it as a formality. Sometimes, and I don't say here, but in some communities I've seen, they say, Shaykhna, we finished Dua Kumail in 15 minutes. Don't worry, it'll be very quick. Or people, when they call, they say, who's reciting tonight? He takes long, I'll come later. We go through this process, it's become a formality. It has to be done. Okay, how can I do it in the least painful way to make sure that it's accomplished? And what that does is that decreased focus on this other aspect of my body, my human being. A human being is not simply flesh. There is a spirit attached to him. We concentrate so much on this physical aspect that we forget about the spirit. We forget about the fact that the spirit needs something to be nourished, to be taken care of. And when our spirituality decreases because of lack of focus, so does it impact our actions and our behavior. The other aspect that we take a look at is this idea of this sequential sinning or this continuous sinning. And how, when we don't take that break, when we don't think about this, what is this sin doing to me, the second one becomes easier. What happens is sometimes we take a look at sin and we take a look at it as isolated incidences, right? We take a look at, for example, lying is one thing, stealing is a separate thing, ghiba is another thing, this is another thing. No, these are all attached. They have an interlaid to them. We have a narration from our sixth Imam where he explains, he says, the mu'min is more holy than the Kaaba. That if you think the Kaaba is a holy place for us, a mu'min is even holier than that. The respect of a mu'min is not a little matter. Yet what we do is we belittle it constantly. We don't pay attention to it. We don't think of the significance of another mu'min. We think of my actions, my desires, my needs. We lower the level of a mu'min to the level of anyone and we say, what's the big deal? Because it starts gradually. When you tell a lie to someone, you become indifferent to that individual. Then it's no big deal if I lie to this person and that person, and then I'm lying to the mu'mineen, and once I'm lying to them, then it's no big deal if I perform another action. Then I backbite them, then I behave with them in an inappropriate fashion, then I talk with them with a harsh tongue. All of these things build from one to another. Why? Because I didn't stop myself after that first sin. I didn't acknowledge that there was something wrong with my action from the beginning, and it raised my level of daring continuously until there was nothing to stop me from continuing this process of sinning and making these mistakes. And we're not careful about this. The third area that we need to worry about that we don't take attention of is we don't pay attention to taking care of our salah. This salat is something that's very important, even if you were to do it as a routine. There are certain aspects that when you attach to this salah, it becomes a protection for you, or it helps you from your heart hardening. This is why we see when Allah talks about it, Asta'inu bis-sabri was-salat. Seek refuge through patience and prayer. Allah is telling you that this prayer is something significant for you. It is something that will help you through difficulty. When we take a look and we see that Allah is telling us that protect your prayers and pay attention to your prayers, there's a reason for it. That prayer is something that will protect you from making these mistakes in your heart hardening. Even if, for example, that my prayer is a ritual to me, I perform it because I have to and I do it in the allotted time, and there's an entire conversation around this aspect too. Let me ask you something. What age did we learn to pray? 10? 12? 15? If you as a 40-year-old man are praying the same way you prayed when you were 12 or 15, you've done injustice to yourself. Why? Think about it. Anything that we learn or we collectively develop, look at your own resume for those who are professionals. It's a collective building. If I had the same skill set I had when I was out of college, 20 years into my professional career, they would say you're a waste of space. No one will give you a spot. You'll never progress. You'll never advance. Why? Because you never developed yourself. Yet when it comes to salah, some of us, we think of the same process. It's like, oh, I learned it. It's sufficient. I know what to do now. But that's part of the problem. We have to focus on correcting these issues. We have to look at this and see how do we shift ourselves and grow ourselves. The bare minimum is that, okay, fine, I make sure that my salat is at the first and appropriate time, awwal waqt, I perform my prayers. Even that's sufficient for growth. When we talk about sometimes even the ta'kibat of salat, we talk about all of these du'as and all of these amal and these nawafil that have to be recited. It's not difficult. The most important thing that you should never separate from your salah is this tasbih. Tasbihat al-Zahra is something that our sixth Imam said, we teach our children to recite tasbih the way you teach your children to pray. That if there is a key to open your hajat and fulfill your hajat, it's this tasbih. It's a simple thing that you can attach to your prayer. It takes not more than a minute after you finish your prayer, but it makes an impact. And one of the causes of this process that we have that hardens us is that this process for us has stopped in development. We've stopped growing in this process. We've stopped giving it significance. We've kind of gone into this process and said, okay, it is what it is. I have to do it. Let me do it. Let me perform it. And that's it. No, a little bit of attention to it. And this is why when we want to talk about how do we cure this hardness of the heart, and this is why it's significant for tonight. Tonight is that night of dua. Thursday night is the night of asking Allah your desire, of asking Allah and getting the answer to your prayers. Even when the sons of Yaqub came to him and they said, "Oh Father, we have made a mistake in how we treated our brother Yusuf. Pray for us to be forgiven by Allah." Nabi Yaqub says, "I will pray for you on Thursday night." Because that is the time when Allah opens the doors for the answering of dua. And that's the point, that tonight, if we're having this conversation, it's to take advantage of this night. That if tonight my heart is to open, and I have my desire that my heart should be cleaned of these mistakes and these sins, there is no better night to ask than in this night. And how do we develop that? Let's say I ask for it tonight. How do I protect that? How do I ensure that this is a continuous process of my growth? It doesn't go away from me, it doesn't leave me. One is start to take account of yourself. Taking account is something we naturally do. It's an expectation in business and professional environments, or even in school. If you go to school, you know that my attendance is taken account for. If I miss so many days, I'll be removed from school, or I'll be penalized for the fact that I missed my classes. If we're in professional environment, we know that our performance is constantly evaluated and we need to keep aware of it. In school, we talk about the grades that come out and we make sure that we pay attention to our grades to understand how our performance is and if we're achieving the goal that we want. In all of our environments, we're taking account of ourselves to ensure that we have progress the same way for us as a human being, as a creation of Allah. One of the significant processes is ensure that you're taking account of yourself. Take account of your day. Take account of what did I do with my time. Set for yourself a series of questions at the night. What did I do today? Did I fulfill my ibadat? Did I commit any sins? Is there something that I hurt someone? Is there something that I helped someone with? What is it that I need to ensure that improves me as an individual? What do I need to develop? What did I do today that shows how I progressed or what I accomplished in a day? These aspects of simply taking account for your actions and being aware that I am held responsible for my deeds is something that will bring a significant change to us. It will help us grow and develop. It will give us the opportunity to become aware that we are an individual who progresses, that something in me changes. It may be gradual. On a day-to-day, I may not notice it. But when I start taking account, I start seeing, am I moving in the right direction? Am I moving in the wrong direction? Is my behavior improving? Or is it getting worse? Did I make this mistake before? Am I repeating the same mistakes I've made in the past? Am I changing as a person or am I not? Accountability is something we've been taught in our communities, in our societies, is very significant, but we were never taught to apply it to ourselves, to our character, to our individuality. That's important. Start taking account. We see the statement of our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. حاسبوا قبل أن تحاسبوا ووزنوها قبل أن توزنوا. Take account of yourself before you are taken account of. Weigh your deeds. Pay attention to your scales before someone else pays attention to your scales. Before you go on the day of judgment and your scales are weighed. This is guidance for us from our Holy Prophet. The one who brought us this religion taught us these things to make sure that we move in the right direction. We accomplish the goal that we set out for. The other aspect in how to ensure and cure the hardening of this heart is through lightening your heart through supplication. Now in supplication there are two categories. In English, unfortunately, we lose out on things. We just say everything is supplication. No, there's a difference. Take some time in your day to recite some dua or some munajat or something that invokes your heart to understand your speech with Allah. Is it necessary it's in Arabic? No. It's perfectly fine in English, Urdu, Farsi, whichever language it is. But the idea is that all of a sudden in my day, I've broken my schedule and my stream, and I've increased this focus of communication between me and Allah. And there are so many resources out there. If you were to simply start with the 15 munajat of Imam Zain al-Abidin, take a look at these 15 munajat. The first one is that munajat of the one who is repentant and wants to return to Allah. And in it you're saying, "Oh Allah, these sins have darkened me and burdened me. I'm coming to you to remove them from me. I'm coming to you to separate them from me and to bring me back to you." But the difference between a dua and a dua you can recite anywhere in any format. A munajat, you want to have a place which is silent to yourself. A place that gives you separation. You're alone from everything around you. Whether that's at night, whether that's in the morning, whether that's before you go to sleep, whether that's when you find alone time in your car before you start your task or end your day. Take these 5-10 minutes. Open this munajat, this private conversation between you and Allah. And confess to Him. Talk to Him. The utilization of these tools is for us to now correct what's wrong with us. Before we wind up in a situation where we can't remove ourselves from this condition. We know about this because when we take a look at the aspect of sinning, that our Prophet teaches us that a sin is a black spot that's put on your heart. And this black spot, if you remove it, it will be removed. But if you don't remove it, it will continue to grow and develop until it takes over your entire heart and there's nothing left. And this is exactly what we read in Surah Mutaffifin, the 83rd Surah, verse number 14. We take a look and we see Allah is telling us about this as well too. He says, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Allah is telling you that yes, this is a reality. He says, no, that certainly it is a rust that forms over their heart because of the deeds that they used to perform. That if we're not conscientious and careful, Allah is telling you, and Allah doesn't lie, that this will overtake your heart. There'll be nothing left. There'll be no way to go away from these mistakes, and we'll continue down this path and we'll be lost. These munajat, these communications is that time when you take that instance when your heart is opened and you cry and you talk to Allah and you ask Him, "Oh Allah, how shall I come to you? Shall I come to you and shall I weep over my condition when I will be deceased and I will not be able to take care of my body? Shall I weep about the condition of what my grave will be like or how narrow the grave will be? Shall I weep about my nakedness on that day of judgment and the visibility of my sins before humanity? Shall I weep about my condition of that day pleading with you for mercy when I have not deserved mercy from you?" That conversation, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's it. But watch how that doesn't make a change in your life. It opens up your heart. That weeping is something that protects you on the Day of Judgment. We see the statement of our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every eye will cry on the Day of Judgment, except for the eye who cried in 3 instances. Or the eye that separated itself in 3 instances. 1, that eye that wept in seeking the mercy of Allah will not weep on the Day of Judgment. The second is that eye that turned away from those things that Allah forbade it to see. That it turned away from those things that Allah did not want us to see. And the third is the one that remembered the difficulties of Abu Abdullah and wept over Husayn alayhi salam. When we take a look and we see these nights are nights of tears. They're nights that we remember and we commemorate the difficulties of Imam al-Husayn. These nights are nights when our hearts open up and we become aware and we become saddened by the loss in the family of Rasulullah. That in these nights when your heart opens and those tears come to your eyes, through the wasila of those tears, that is the revolution of your heart, make sure that when I open my heart at that moment and I supplicate to Allah with the tears in my eyes, it's to continue the connection with this family of Ahlul Bayt in dunya and akhirah. It's to make sure that I am attached and my character is one worthy, that it's not that from my actions I would be seen as an opponent of Abu Abdullah, but in my thoughts I'm a supporter of Abu Abdullah. It's asking Allah through the wasila of this relationship, this revolution that He put in my heart, that, oh Allah, don't let this come to my heart except that when I leave this place, I have changed. These tears of Aba Abdullah, when they are paired with this night of Thursday, there is nothing that you can supplicate to Allah that He will not fulfill for you. And not only will He fulfill it for you, there is a wasila between you and Allah by the rights of these tears that will ensure your dua is accepted. It is that mother who, when she was given the lawh and she saw the difficulties that would fall on Hussein, she wept to her father, Ya Rasulullah, will my Hussein be butchered and martyred thirsty in the field of Karbala? Yes, it is so. Who will be there with him? Will you be there with him? No, I won't be with him. Will his father Ali be with him? No. Will his brother Hassan be with him? No. My son Hussein will be martyred alone in the field of Karbala. There is that mother who wept on that day when she heard this news, and the news of Zahra's weeping on that day is such, if you have the patience. They said when Zahra read this and knew the command of Allah was true, she wept until she fainted. And when she came to, she wept again until she fainted again. There is a mother who loved her son in such a way that she knew the difficulties that would befall him, that when she left this world and Amir al-Mu'mineen said, bid farewell to your mother, Hassan came, Zainab came, Kulthum came, but Hussein stood away and he said, I am no less than Isa. When Isa called to Maryam, she came to him. I will not go to my mother until she calls to me. The wasila of that mother who could not stand Hussein waiting to say farewell to her, that she called out to him. And Hussein attached himself to the chest of his mother until Jibreel called out, Oh Ali, remove Hussein from the chest of Fatima. The angels weep in such a way that the earth shall be torn asunder. But there was no one who stopped Shimar from sitting on the chest of Abu Abdullah. These are the nights of the wasila of Sayyidah Zahra, that tonight you have come and asked by the wasila of that mother, who when they said on the night of Ashur that a disturbing noise came from the Maqtal, and they went to Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah, what is this noise that comes from the Maqtal? He says, pay no attention to it. Ya Abu Abdullah, by your right, explain to us what is this troublesome noise. It keeps us from having peace in this last night. He says, this is my mother Zahra sitting on the place of my shahadat. She sits and weeps where tomorrow I shall be martyred. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Ya Allah, accept this small ibadat on our behalf. Oh Allah, we have come in these nights, in this time, to ask for our hajat, fulfill our hajat. There are those who are in difficulty, remove their difficulties. There are those amongst our families and our communities and the mu'mineen who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Oh Allah, there are those who are in difficulty and without security in these times. Give them security. Oh Allah, give our families the support to be on the path of Ahlul Bayt, and secure our generations that they may be followers of Ali Muhammad, and hasten the reappearance of Sahibul Zaman. Rahimallahu man yaqra' Suratul Fatiha ma'a salawat. اللهم صل على